Thanks so much for joining us today. I am Gamasutra editor Alex Waro, and I am joined by Gamasutra contributing editor Brian Francis. Brian, where are you?
I am in the UBM Fortress in Santa Monica, California. How's it going, everyone? Oh, my face isn't on screen, I guess. That's sad.
Yeah, I'm trying to find you, but you're buried deep. You're deep within the bowels of corporate America, and I'm having a tricky time capturing you.
Yeah. Do you have two monitors, Alex?
No.
This is why you have two monitors.
Yeah, I used to have two monitors, and then I put my PC in a closet, and then that like really did wonders to tie the apartment together. But it makes it much more difficult to have a lot of fancy monitors in here.
For those of you watching at home, you're getting a sneak peek inside the Gamasutra workflow here, which is mostly just slapped together with glue and strings and prayer. And
no. It's dynamic. It's agile. It's very agile is our streaming process. And right now, I'm so agile that I've forgotten how to capture your Skype window in OBS because we use XSplit so often. Why don't you, as the resident
Why didn't you use XSplit then?
Oh, well, because XSplit takes more CPU, right?
Right, but Diablo II was made how many years ago?
Well, 17, because today it's Diablo 2's 17th birthday. But
big kickoff, big segue. We're here to play Diablo 2 today.
No, but seriously, remind me, is it window capture or it's window capture, isn't it?
You have to window capture. You have to go to the Skype area. You have to window capture Skype and then capture the area where my face is.
I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you, Brian Francis.
Oh, no, you can't stop me. You can't catch me on the gingerbread.
I'm going to find you. I can't. It won't. It doesn't. It doesn't see Skype in the thing. It just sees Explorer null, and that's no good.
Hey, Alex, if you actually want to give it a sec, my keyboard's working on my. I'm seeing if I can try to get connected to the game.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to take one last effort to bring you into the actual thing here, so we have a human being with our video game. And in the meantime,
hi everyone. This is literally like the worst start we've ever had.
I disagree. Well, I guess I don't know.
It was the worst then.
Maybe it's not the worst. Maybe it is. I don't know. What's interesting about it is that there you go. I've rescued you from the bowels of corporate America, and now you're here.
Hi everyone.
I don't know how long you're going to stay there, but hopefully for the rest of the stream. So this stream, we are playing Diablo 2. It's a very laid-back stream. No guest this week, or today. Maybe later this week we'll have another guest. But this is important because Diablo 2 came out this week. I think today. I'm pretty sure it was the 29th. I'm pretty sure it was today.
Yeah.
17 years ago. And it was a significant work, you might say. I wouldn't say it didn't define the action RPG as a genre, but it certainly popularized it. And so we have a plethora of materials on Gamasutra.com about how this game was made and the influence it has had on a generation of game designers. So we thought we'd go ahead and play through it.
Tell me, Alex, did you play this game as a wee old millennial?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't think I played it when it came out because my PC couldn't run it. But we definitely went to a LAN cafe, and my friends and I, and we all played Diablo 2, and I had a great time. Should I wait for you to join me in multiplayer, or should I just go into single player?
You're probably going to want to go into single player because I think something horrible has happened over here.
I am reasonably sure that the characters in this game transfer seamlessly between multiplayer and single player, so if you manage to get that working, you can join me. Also, I'm super low level, so who even knows? Alright, so this is very, very early in Blizzard North's seminal Diablo 2 Lords of Destruction. And
I got through that first cave. Are you also playing a druid?
Yeah, druid's the best.
Oh, we totally should have. We showed up to the party wearing the same dress then.
Yeah.
Because I was playing a druid when I was playing yesterday.
It's a great dress, right? You get to turn into wolves and bears and shoot fire and ice.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know what? My first thing, I sort of admit to our viewers here, I was a little young when this came out. I was also a little in a family where M-rated games had to be thoroughly vetted. And there was no way this was going to pass that vetting, but I was playing Warcraft 3 like instead of this later on. I guess Warcraft 3 came out after this. But so I did not play Diablo 2 is my point. I've played many games influenced by Diablo 2. Oh, what do you know? I connected to the Wi-Fi, so
Oh, that's
while we're
exciting.
doing this, I'm just gonna try and boot up Diablo 2, and then maybe I can play with Alex.
Okay, can we all just sit quietly for a minute? I'm pretty sure the gameplay audio is turned up high enough that everyone on stream can listen to this sweet, sweet sound. Huh? Huh? Did you hear that? Flip, flip, flip.
I have muted the audio at my end.
Oh,
You're not sending it to me, so it's not.
wow.
But yeah, the opening the boxes, right? No, I was playing this last night, and I was struck by how good this all still was. Like how like so much of the fundamental interaction of this game is still functional, good, rewarding, compelling. Take your pick.
Yeah. As long as you're using those buzzwords, let's just throw in visceral. Visceral's a good
Visceral?
one.
Yeah,
No, I mean, yes, the chest opening noise is excellent, as are a bunch of the others. Very satisfying in a way that's hard to describe, but I was speaking specifically of the thwip, thwip, thwip noise that comes whenever anything drops in Diablo 2.
yeah,
That noise, to this day, is one of my top favorite noises
yeah.
in life, and I think that is an achievement, like a seminal achievement that I think is sort of overlooked when we talk about the history of video game design.
Yeah. Well, guess what, Alex?
Yeah.
Let me mute it.
God, that sounds so good.
I think I can join you.
Yeah? Okay, well, I think I need to
Yeah,
host
so
the game,
what-
so let me know if you're going to start joining.
Yeah, you go host the game.
Okay, alright, well, as you wish. Folks watching the stream who might say, hey, this is not how you play Diablo 2, you guys are terrible at this. That's because I'm playing with one hand and trying to hold a very professional mic in the other hand. Brian, you have my IP address, right? It's in chat?
I can literally see it through the window.
Right, everyone does. Everyone come play Diablo 2 with us.
Everyone wants to play Diablo 2 with Gamasutra.com.
That's right.
That's this professional play right here. Is that 2-1 shoot? No, I missed it. I lost it.
Oh, sorry. I had to host it before you typed it in. I believe it's 10-0-0-2-1-8, but I may have miscounted the number of zeros there. You can check our Slack channel for the actual number if you need it.
Oh, it's inside.
Yeah. Surprise. We, like every other video game publication, and most game development studios, use Slack.
Where'd you put it?
Well, we had a really good article yesterday on the site about how a lot of teams use Discord, and they use it both internally and sort of in a public-facing manner, so they can use it to talk directly to players and stuff, and that's actually really neat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could use Slack the same way. If you use Slack the same way, send us your hot Slack tips for game development.
I don't think players are on Slack. I think they're just on Discord is the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we had an article about Slack, too, a few weeks back, I think, and that was much more about, like, how do you use this to stay organized and motivated in your studio?
Yeah.
How do you coordinate?
Yeah. So, Alex, what are your Diablo 2 memories? What are your fondest ones?
Oh, boy. All right, well, so this game came out in 2000, right? So I would have been, oh, boy, 14 maybe? So pretty old these days. Like, I would have been like 14, 15. I was old enough to get out of the house and get in a friend's car and go to the local LAN cafe and, spend $5 for an hour on the computers and play Diablo 2. And what I remember most is running around like a chicken with your head cut off trying to get all the things before your friends got all the things.
So you made a game, sort of a game within a game there.
Sort of. Yeah.
Can't connect to the server.
That's okay.
That's okay, yeah. We're just going to call it a day on this.
Well, I'm still out there. If anyone wants to join.
Yeah.
Single druid in your area. Looking for group.
Hot druids in your area.
That's right. So, before we hopped on here, I shared some study materials for everyone that's going to come. We're going to have a pop quiz about Diablo 2's development, because I think this game, as it gets closer and closer to that big 2-0, is a really interesting thing to study from a game development perspective, because it's emblematic of what I think a lot of people now look back on as like typical 90s PC game development culture, which is a small team that grew bigger. They overscoped. They didn't really project manage very well. They didn't plan out what they were going to do super well. If you read the postmortem on Gamasutra, which is on the front page right now, like they celebrate, Eric Schaefer celebrates the sort of like open-minded approach they took to game design, where they said, basically everyone on the team has input, everyone has a say. We play the game starting very early on. We keep playing it, and we keep trying to make it better, so that if we enjoy it, that way players will enjoy it. And that's like a really common, and I think a really common philosophy of game design that has a lot of like high points. But the problem there is that that tends to lead to overscope, feature creep, and like overlong, over crunchy development cycles, which is exactly what happened to this game.
I was struck by how there was not, rereading that postmortem, there was no design team. There was no silo where designers could get together and purely work on design. There was just art team, programming team, and I think an audio team, if I was looking through that postmortem right.
The one I read said that, at least in the beginning, they were literally divided into 3 teams. That was
It was 3
coding,
teams, yeah.
Character art, or things that moved, and then environment art, or things that didn't move.
Yeah, character art, background art, and programming, which is really striking. Oh, because, well, it's like I said, where's the audio team? Like, they say Blizzard Irvine helped out with, like, the animations and contributed to story development, but I guess, like, it's always the thing about this end of certain kinds of PC games is it's almost like the game designers were making, which, you know, they were looking for something fun, and the game that, like, I sort of understand Diablo B just are 2 different things, which is just fascinating to me about how, like, they were like, hey, we really like making looty monster killing games.
Yeah.
And we're just going to spend all this time on these things, and it's, and they're like talking here, but we're going to make a story and have it matter to the overall quests this time. But they don't have anyone dedicated to that. They're just sort of like, these are the 3 things we really need to get right, so we're going to focus on these.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I also like, there's a part in that postmortem where Eric basically writes, if I'm remembering correctly, that like the core philosophy of that game, of its design, was kill/reward, which is like such a such a just like, yeah, of course, like that's you know, like 90% of video games in some sense. But
I love the old walk animations in this game.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that apparently the run made its debut in Diablo 2. There was no run in Diablo 1. So the fact that there's a walk animation versus a run animation is kind of new.
Yeah. You go ahead and run for me, Alex, at your earliest meetings. I want to see what that looks like.
Are you sure?
I may have not learned to do that yesterday.
Don't you enjoy this like little shuffle I'm doing? All right. I gotta remember the run key. There it is.
I mean, as always.
No stamina. Interesting.
As always, you know what's funny is, I'm just looking at this run cycle, and it's just, even this is such like an old thing. Like, this run cycle looks like how most video game movement would look like with most days, but they were, in the interest of some kind of design philosophy that would matter more back then, the idea that like a player should be walking and running. These should be separate, super big deal. I guess you sort like, these days it's like jog and sprint, not walk and run.
Yeah.
Like, you'll be walking and then you'll hold down a walk faster button. But what you still think of as a walk is more like a light dun 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 dun.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel really silly because I was just like, look, there's no stamina bar, but of course there is. I just happen to be under the aegis of a stamina shrine, so I can just run forever. I wish I could just turn on auto run because I only have one hand. There we go. Yeah, so...
Is Diablo also infamously a game you can only play with one hand? Like, you obviously can't change two things as fast. I thought that was the point.
I don't think that's true because I'm proving it wrong right here, right now. I think you can probably play most of it with one hand, as we're seeing, but it's you know, to really unlock the full nuance of the game's design and input scheme, you have to have both hands on the keyboard.
Okay.
I'm just gonna sell all this stuff.
I was yeah, you know what I really liked while I was playing yesterday? I liked the identify mechanic.
Yeah. Wait,
like,
really? I found that really annoying when I was a kid.
Hi there, I'm Charcy.
But like I like it from like a nerdy. I like it from a nerdy, nuggety design thing. Like the idea that like magical items need to be like, you need to figure out what the magic is. I like the idea of that system at least. I wouldn't mind if it came back. Not gonna lie, could be made a lot of fun. I guess it's kind of like an RNG. It's like it exists today as kind of RNG mechanics that like, like, you know, oh, what item did you get?
I definitely think that every mechanic in Diablo has come back. Like, if you are looking for any mechanic in a Diablo game, you will find it in a game that's out right now and is currently being updated. Although Diablo 2 actually did get an update a year ago, which is crazy because it's the first time in like 16 years. But you know, stuff like Path of Exile and everything, and all the weird. I shouldn't say that. Oh, the games like Victor Vron and Van Helsing, that are just like dudes in cool hats that walk around in isometric worlds shooting stuff. Those are. I'm sure you'll find all that stuff in games of that nature. All right, let's see here. Pardon me, chicken. What I think is interesting is like when you look back at those postmortems and stuff. I mentioned like their core philosophy was kill/reward, and that seems like such a not a no-brainer, but like a very common and popular philosophy of design, at least as far as they expand upon it, which is like not only is the player always doing something in the moment to moment, but they are always about to do something. Like they're always about to clear out a level, about to unlock a skill, about to get to a waypoint, about to complete a quest. And like that's just feels like standard game design right now. But in the postmortem of 2000, like they made it sound like it was kind of novel. Like it was not necessarily popular at the point, and I wonder to what extent this game popularized that idea.
Yeah, I'm just going to point out something pure fact from the postmortem that I think is worth calling out. The greatest deficiency of tools, they did not operate within our game engine. We could not preview how monsters would look in environments they would inhabit. You couldn't even watch them move around until a programmer took the time to implement an AI. Even after that, an artist would have to hassle someone to get a current working build of the game to see his creation in action. Our sound effects engineers ended up painstakingly creating AVI movie animation versions of animations to sync up sounds with actions. Our lack of tools created lasting turnaround times for artists who end up having to reanimate monsters or make missing background tiles months after the initial work was completed. I imagine every game developer deals with this in some way, that they don't get to just look at what their game looks like on the fly. Although that seems to be changing these days. Like Unity, Unreal do a good job of putting hands in game design, like letting everyone sort of see how gameplay works as soon as possible. But this old way of like, can you imagine making like this is sort of like making a game in the dark?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it's not totally unheard of now. Like certainly like the incredible popularity of all sort of off-the-shelf engines like Unity and Unreal sort of cut down on that, because those engines have a vested interest in making themselves approachable, easy to use, like that kind of thing. And so you don't have to worry about having old or mismatched game dev tools that don't fit together well, so you can't actually preview your models in the engine or whatever. But like when you read about what happened to the development of Destiny just a couple years ago, I mean, they didn't quite have the problem reportedly where like they couldn't see things that they had created in the engine without having to build out a whole thing, but they would have to like do a build overnight just to see their changes in the level design, and that would take reportedly like a whole evening. So this idea that technical issues can significantly impede your production process and like kind of ruin your creative not ruin, but like slow down your creative output are still like real concerns and real issues.
There is a place. The order welcomes you.
Brian, I have to confess something.
Yeah.
I've forgotten how to identify items.
You need to use the scroll of identify or the tome of identify.
Oh god, of course. I'm sorry, it's been 17 years. Here we go.
It's been 17 years. Although, wait, it wouldn't be... Did you ever play Lord of Destruction? That came out after, right?
That's true. The Lord of Destruction came out in 2001, and that's actually what I played at the aforementioned LAN cafe. Yeah. So it's been 16 years.
Yeah. I mean, Harry Potter just turned 20. That's what's making me feel old this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Is he still a boy wizard? Is he a man wizard
They haven't made a new book in ages.
Oh.
Yes, he's a man. If you go to the end of the books, he is now a man wizard.
I guess now he's probably literally a young adult wizard.
Oh,
no, that's embarrassing. I just used a town portal within like 10 feet of a waypoint. Yeah, so it was fascinating to see the production process on this game, because like I said, it was a small team. You mentioned they were using kind of a mix of commercial software and their own software, which caused kind of weird idiosyncrasies in the production process. But it really was small, right? Like I read that when this game production started, it was like 20 people, and at max it got up to about 40, 45. And that's like not a lot. I mean, it's significant for a small studio, but when you think of Blizzard, you don't think of a small studio. Whoa. All right. But
you know what? Oh God, you want to know about these old postmortems? They have it all listed right here.
Yeah.
Typical programmer workstation: 500 megahertz Pentium 2 running Windows NT with 128 megabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
And a 9 gigabyte hard drive.
But the artists got a double Pentium 2.
Yeah, they got two Pentium 2s with 256 megabytes of RAM and a 14 gigabyte hard drive. Software used: 3D Studio Max, Photoshop, Microsoft Developer Studio, Visual Studio, and SourceSafe.
Yeah, it's those are real beasts of machines. They were really remarkable. Well, I just died in part because I forgot one of the other key components of the Diablo game design is like a ton of clicking, like just breaking your mouse, breaking your finger, clicking your mouse, and I tried to keep it off the microphone, and I died. So sorry about that, everybody.
You don't need to try and hide it from the microphone. The clicking is part of the experience.
Oh yeah. Right, let me just.
Well, you need your microphone to not jitter from your computer. That's the only thing I know you need to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, here we go.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, this vast amount of clipping. I was actually surprised at how much like this specific gameplay held up, because I've only played games that have sort of like mimicked this this kind of stuff. Not like this is it. This is the old hardcore like you have to click so freaking fast to make this work.
It's just how things used to be. It's not hardcore. It's just video games.
Yeah, but it's still fun. Like clicking this fast on so many tiny little things is still fun. Like, you can only click on these guys. You're not like clicking to swing, and it's not checking to see if you're swinging it. You are clicking specifically to say I'm attacking that thing. So
yeah,
and then we're going to see a million things you use. So you have to make quick priority decisions. I think that's obviously, like you said, even Diablo 3, everything from Diablo 3 to you said the name of the game earlier, and I'm totally blanking on it. Embers?
Oh, you mean Path of Exile?
Path of Exile, yeah.
Perhaps Van Helsing, or perhaps Victor Vron, or perhaps Titan Quest, which is actually way older. Oh boy.
Although they have Grim Dawn out now.
Right, yeah, Grim Dawn. Excellent choice.
Yeah. Home Crush says Bloodraven always used to scare them.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, forget Bloodraven. I mean, Bloodraven is significant, but the Butcher from, I think, Diablo 1 is the...
That's one of the bosses, right?
He's like the first boss, I think, on the first level of the dungeon, but I could be wrong. It's been over 17 years. He's real scary. He's so iconic. I think they put him back into Diablo 3 relatively recently for a limited time event. Whoa.
Yeah, it's kind of Home Crush says he's the first boss. I mean, it's kind of funny that you and I are adults now, but I guess as like when we were younger, like this stuff absolutely could scare you. Like there was definitely something. I remember playing a lot of games with roughly this graphical fidelity, and just the art, and there was something to like this 3D art and animation, like even just the tone, like the UI down below you with this like just very Arcana feel. Like there was something to all of this that like I remember playing other similar aesthetics, similar graphics of the time, and just being like even the like just simple undead skeletons could be spooky.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll tell you what it was. It was the devil. This game is scary because it has the devil in it, and it has the devil in the title.
Right.
And the big scary thing on the front. It's very just like Doom. It draws a lot on like kind of pulpy satanic imagery and like
Yeah,
classic
like a cult
90s PC game touchstones. It's funny, in the postmortem for the original Diablo, which David Brevik gave at GDC 2015, I think. I don't think it was last year. Maybe it was last year. He mentioned that, of course, the inspiration for the name is Mount Diablo, which is right here in Northern California, near where he grew up. And Mount Diablo is beautiful. It's not demonic or devilish at all. So it's kind of a misnomer that this game is scary. Oh, here we go. I say, you know what's also kind of a weird, a scary thing is that I can't find my corpse. I thought I could find my corpse and get my stuff off of it, but I can't seem to do it. And maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like that's something that happens in this game. You go back and you do a corpse run, you get your stuff off of it, and that, it's very Dark Souls.
Did you not keep your stuff when you revived?
I don't think so, because I definitely had like some sweet gloves that were not these gloves, and some like a club and some stuff, and now it's gone.
Yeah, gone.
Oh, there it is. There's my corpse. Whoa. Yeah. Anyways, it's sort of really illuminating to look back on this game and see just how much came into game design down the road. Like I'm not gonna say skill trees started here. They definitely didn't. I feel like if I remember reading correctly, this is where skill trees came into Diablo, the series, and they were inspired by skill trees in real-time strategy games.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that skill trees in non-RTS games came from Diablo, but I think this really popularized that design philosophy. And you can it's funny that you can draw that back to like Warcraft or Command & Conquer.
Yeah. RK Sanders actually asks I guess he's talking about. I guess you're also referencing tech trees in those games, Alex.
Absolutely. Yeah.
RK Sanders is asking a question that I think like merits returning to the Diablo discussion specifically. El Diablo, I should say. Did your parents have a problem with the demonic stuff? Mine only questioned me playing shooty stuff like Counter-Strike. I will say specifically, my mom always had a problem with games showing the undead, not because she was religious, but just because it was like a level of horror and gruesome that she wasn't comfortable with. Like, I was a young teenager, and my brother was even younger than me when we started getting into computer games. She was just mostly glad we were never interested in Doom. Like, we played it at our friends' houses a few times, but mostly it was a muted affair playing over there.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like we sat down for hours and like played tons and tons of Doom. It was more like we just played a couple levels and there's a monster, and I don't think she just didn't want it on our home computer mostly. I think what I'll go speak. That's my specific story. I think what's probably worth noting is that the '90s were like the last era where like the idea of all this like nerd stuff, like having satanic connections, like the last. But because like it's actually
nerd stuff.
I was watching a video on Ghostbusters on this recently. Like Ghostbusters, in the '80s, so you got the mid to late '80s, has like the last sort of dying breath of like how society was reacting to the occult, because all the occult stuff in Ghostbusters was like riffing on, decades of paranoia about everything from serial killer cults to like occultists, like converting kids or whatever. Like the 80s and 90s were the end times of paranoia about that, to the point that like I have a story about how I met a family in Ithaca, New York, when I was studying there, who their kids wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons and then got into LARPing, and they were so convinced that this was like a pathway to Satanism that they were like, no, you can only do it at our house, like on our property. And they watched them get into it, and they were like, wait, no, this is fun and awesome. But it's just such like it's this intersection of how like Doom and Diablo, like where these symbols lived in our like culture that like back then, and now you have Heroes of the Storm putting Doom and like putting Diablo himself in like all these different goofy costumes, and he's now sort of the symbol of more like just general like demon, kind of monster-ish.
The lighter side of Satanism, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but totally like whatever. Like, now he's got a pool costume. Now he's got funny voice lines. Like, Diablo is absolutely toothless in terms of horror now, but that's because it's okay. It's still one of the most fun games out there.
Yeah, I don't remember having any problems at all playing this. I don't think I really. Partly, I think because I couldn't really. I don't think I could play this at home. I don't think we had a PC that could really run at the time, so I went to LAN cafes because we were a bit on the poorer side. But I remember we did have a PC a few years prior to that, and the game that I kept trying and failing to get to run on it, including begging my parents for help, was Doom 2. Because I thought Doom 2 was such the coolest thing ever, and it was the epoch of what video games ever could be or would be. And they had no problems with Doom 2, which is like a giant demon on the cover with a machine gun. So that was probably fine. Although weirdly, I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons because that was uncouth and rude and not appropriate for a child.
Yeah, mom did not let us watch a lot of rude cartoons. A lot of ones with violence. A lot of ones with like. My first episode of Beast Wars was one where like it was called Law of the Jungle, and it had a really depressing end where like this cat dies, this big cat that one of the main characters has been protecting. So that's parents
just don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah. No, well I always think I think what your parents are always, interested in you engaging or not engaging with, and how they try to deal with you with it is always a fascinating thing. It's just interesting that because video games, have this appeal for children, whether they're complicated like Diablo or simple like Mario, um, what culture they draw on often can or cannot become the impetus for why they become subjects of controversy in people's homes. There's a lot. I wouldn't mind reading a book about like what games get like what games parents wind up not wanting their kids to play and why. Like reading an in-depth engagement of that subject matter would be a nice read. I think it would be a smart article. Smart series of articles.
I would love to read some input in the chat about what games your parents wouldn't let you play and why.
Yeah.
Maybe that includes Diablo, maybe not.
We got a few. NKV says Doom was like they deleted Doom off their computer. Oh boy.
Are you not enjoying this smorgasbord of flames and demonic things?
Oh, I'm enjoying it, but
it's strange to look back at this now. Like this style of game is popular. It's accepted. At the time, I don't remember anything like this, and I remember being slightly bemused that this could be so engaging.
you would have had the Might and Magic series, which Grim Dawn was based off of.
Wait, what? No, Might and Magic was a role-playing game or a tactical strategy game. There was no top-down isometric cut things.
Oh, what was Grim Dawn? I did an interview with the guy, and he was telling me how they built Grim Dawn off the images of the games he used to work on.
Oh, well, I mean, who knows what engine it was, but I have no idea. The Might and Magic games, there were two branches of Might and Magic games. There were Might and Magic, which were first-person role-playing games in the style of wizardry. Yeah. And then there were Heroes of Might and Magic, which were the best. And those were all about, like, a map and, like, taking over towns. And then, like, you would take your hero around and engage in, like, turn-based battles with your armies. And that is a style of game that was, like, much more popular in the 90s, I think, than it is today. So I'm sort of surprised it hasn't come back yet.
Yeah. NGB says they deleted Doom not because of the demons and such, but because it was full of blood.
Wow.
Yeah, blood's a weird thing in media. Like once blood shows up, the ratings go up, no matter what it is, no matter what kind of blood.
You just can't get it out, right? Like once you get blood in something, nothing gets it out. It's a pain.
You talking from your side career, Alex? Yeah. Letting your side job get in front of your main one?
Yeah, well, that's why in Germany they have to not put any blood in to begin with, because once you get blood in there, like you just no matter how much you try to hide it, there's a code or something you can just shows right up.
Just doesn't wash out, right?
That's right.
Right, just gets everyone.
Washes out.
Roman Look says they had the opposite upbringing. They played stuff like Aliens and versus Predators with their dad.
Wow,
that's nice.
That is cool.
I remember my dad trying to play on the N64 and maybe trying to play a few computer games, but he just wound up not having the time. He spent more time trying to play the card games that my brother and I enjoyed with us, which was admittedly that was a fun time. He gave it a good shot.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have this funny memory of my dad. God bless his soul, because he's still around. We were playing Hero Quest, which is not a video game. It is a board game. But it is a fascinating board game. And it's really like number crunchy and involves like a semi-dungeon master character that he would play, where you have to like lay out the enemies that you were going to encounter and roll the dice and stuff. And like there's my dad, like probably in his 40s at this point, coming home tired from a long day. Like dude worked in a hospital, like didn't have to put up with me at all. And then he would sit down at this like tiny little table for little kids, like it was like 2 feet off the ground, and he would basically be our like proto dungeon master, and it was just it was like Diablo in a board game form, just like walk into a room, kill everything, take the stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, like Diablo's another one of those games that owes its roots to tabletop games, right? Like so many computer role-playing games happened because the first game designers, because game designers were like, oh, I love these role-playing elements from Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons was like, I love these role-playing. When Gary Gygax was making that, he was like basing it off the war games that he'd been playing as a younger kid, like the whole 9 yards here.
Do you want to try and draw this connection? All right, so just like the RPG skill trees that surface in action RPGs can be traced back to the tech trees in real-time strategy games where you control armies. So too can the character development mechanics and RPG mechanics that we know best from games like Diablo and Might and Magic be traced back to D&D, which itself is traced back from war games where people would move armies around a board and a map. And Gary Gygax was like, this is fun, but what if we could tell stories about these people? What if we could just have little people instead of whole divisions?
Yeah, and I guess like it's also, I don't think actually people play D&D quite this way all the time these days, at least my party doesn't, but D&D started off with that, like that, you know, have the room, have the squares, like range was very important. Like Gygax and his buddies were definitely trying to, there was a sense, and it sort of follows into these early action RPGs, like this sense of replicating space, scale, and dimensions, like needing it. Right now, like we role play, my party and I role play with extremely rough, like guesstimates of how things are going. Like, like how, like my DM goes like, where are you in the room right now? And someone sits by the door and he just goes, you're like 10 yards away, so you can use that spell. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't use hard measurements at all for any of this.
Right.
And then it's interesting how in my life I've circled back to playing more of the war games things now that I'm playing X-Wing, which I promise to shut up about one day.
Whatever, this is free for, it's Thursday.
Yeah, it's the Thursday retro game stream. We talk about, okay, well, just to bring it back to Diablo 2 for a second.
Sure.
And maybe to ask players, or our audience, our small audience, we're very thankful for you here about this. So, my understanding of Diablo 2, just from talking to my friends about it who played a lot more than I, Diablo 2 is not about completing the adventure for the first time, right? It's not about killing Diablo. It's not like a straight line from A to B.
Oh, man.
You beat the journey, now maybe you'll replay this times. No, you replay this game constantly, right?
Oh, man.
Like, you were always trying to new game plus your way to your better loot, and then play with your friends and go dungeon crawling, and like it's just kind of like a massive dungeon crawl simulator that's also counterbound. Like, this is, Bryant loves narrative games, speaking for a moment, but like the narrative in here does not matter in the sense that like the core of Diablo is not an adventure that hits certain emotional points. It's X number, what dungeons will you get this time, and what loot will you get this time, right?
Yeah, Diablo's a video game. It's not a novel. I encourage everyone in chat to sort of like chime in if they have any feelings about like how they played it or you know, played it for the story or whatever. In my experience, Diablo is played once through for the story and to learn the mechanics, and then you play it again with friends. And you do that in part because you like people and you like playing games with people, and you do it also because the very basic minute to minute, second to second act of playing this game is very satisfying for a lot of people. You click on things and then they die and they stop hurting you and you get stuff and then you proceed. And that is the game, right? And for sure, like I remember when I was younger, the idea of making runs was a thing. I'm sure it still is actually when people still play this game. Like you make,
it's why Diablo 3 is still a live game. Yeah. Like the way the hybrid. I mean, like, it's funny when Destiny like came up and they were talking about like kind of doing the thing that they do. As Destiny came towards release, I was like, oh, they just made a very intricate Diablo. Like that was sort of my first instinct. Was like it's a sort of a game type I don't fully grok. I admit. Like to me, a game is either an adventure to be completed, a set of arenas to be re-entered and re-entered. A unique specific experience that, like, you know, like Journey or whatever. It's not like, it wasn't until World of Warcraft that I was even on this whole run, like, doing runs business. Like, oh, we're gonna run, like, once I got to endgame of World of Warcraft, which I feel like plays more similar to Diablo, just obviously not on a minute-to-minute impulse scale. Like, but then Blizzard was, like, responding to, like, what the end metagame of World of Warcraft became was kind of like mimicking what Diablo was, except obviously in this, you know, with more people, bigger monsters, bigger scale, etc.
Yeah, this is like the prototypical loot game, right? It's not the first, but I'd say it's one of the like most popular early examples of what will become Destiny. Oh god, that was my Destiny right there. It was just to get smashed down.
Destiny. Yeah, I actually think it was interesting because I worked in mobile games before. I was at Gamasutra, and just watching how the Eastern RPG market, especially for mobile RPGs, has like taken the same thing, but to an incredible, like, to this insane level. Like you think however many runs you do on Diablo is like, you think that's a lot. Like, you need to be playing, like a lot of these games will have an autoplay mode because in order to play the actual game that you're going to be competing in, you need to be not like trying to like survive an encounter like this where you're precisely clicking and tuning and moving. You're just taking a character who can kill most of the enemies and mashing and tell the computer just to take this character you built and pilot it through over and over again. And it's still like it creates the, I feel like it creates the idea of two games: the game you're immediately playing in the moment, and the broader game you're playing about looting and character building and rankings and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's definitely that. It's all about numbers. It's all about numbers going up.
Alex is just sad. He's dying.
Well, I'm pretty sure this isn't like Dark Souls, where like I think you can collect all your old corpses, but I could be wrong because I might have just lost all my stuff.
Yeah, I definitely don't like that mechanic. I don't like losing your stuff after dying.
Punch these guys to death.
I don't. That's a mechanic I'm glad it's phased out. That's too much of an old game design.
I think it's great. I fully respect anybody who likes a narrative in games and prioritizes games as like story.
Oh no, I'm referring just to the dying part.
Oh yeah, I like that too. That's a weird phrase, right? Like, I find it frustrating as well, but I like that because it gives weight to my mistakes. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily good or bad. I personally enjoy it. I found it interesting to go back and read the postmortem of this and see them championing this game's design as a way to give every player their own unique experience.
Yeah.
In the age before streaming and stuff, that was not less about like making this eminently watchable and interesting, which I think is what that is best for now, and more about like, hey, when you go to work at your office and you have a water cooler, because people still do that, they don't just all work from home, you're going to share stories about your time in Diablo 2, and your Diablo 2 will be totally different from someone else's Diablo 2.
Yeah.
And that was novel. That was totally novel and meaningful at the time, and it's still meaningful, but it's definitely not a new idea. Now it's definitely like game design 101. Well,
yeah.
If you're making a systems-based game like this.
Yeah. NUB says this time, the first time they played it to beat it, they hadn't learned English yet, which is why it wasn't for the story.
Yeah.
Then after a cousin showed them Battle.net, it became about getting the strongest character they could get before they got tired of the game. But yeah, that just speaks to the metagame. Like, once you're in Battle.net, right, like, you can find other people, and there's like incentives to like meet and trade, and like, hey, can you help me rush through this? Like, there's the seeds of what, like, I really, now that I'm saying these things out loud, I'm like, oh my god, there must have been a lot of Diablo in World of Warcraft. Like, I remember thinking at the time, how did the people who made Warcraft 3 go on to make World of Warcraft? I'm like, oh my god, if they had like kind of a proto World of Warcraft in like in Diablo 2, then they had what they needed to make World of Warcraft work.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, this I don't know about that, but I do know this game was certainly a significant moment in Blizzard as a whole's development. Like, it was actually the swan song of Blizzard North, which shut down, unfortunately, during development of Diablo 3. But yeah, this was a big debut for Battle.net. I mean, Battle.net, I think came out with the original Diablo, but this was the moment when it like got to be a really big thing. Like, by the time this game came out, Battle.net had reportedly like millions of users, and they had designed this game to take advantage of Battle.net and its sort of like host, like server architecture, where I think the original Diablo had multiplayer, but it was peer-to-peer, so like it was much easier to cheat for one, which was a kind of a problem, and a bunch of other things. That reminds me, actually, like, they wrote a lot about how they designed this game specifically for Battle.net, to be played co-op, to be played repetitively with people online, and like stuff shared. And also, like, I'd forgotten, but well, Diablo 1 had a randomly generated set of dungeons, so this wasn't like the first roguelike application to an action RPG. This game expanded upon that and also had it, like, just the way those skill trees were developed. Like, let's see here. So I guess in the original Diablo, you would just find books, right, that would give you skills, and every character class had the same access to the same skills. And so I guess in the postmortem they said that they went with this idea of, doing away with skill books, and instead just like letting you unlock skills in a skill tree, because it would allow players to customize their characters. And I don't think that was new at the time, but they certainly made it sound like it was new to them. And I think that's kind of a notable moment when you realize, like, oh yeah, like skill trees are a thing. Players can create their own build. The idea of builds was still relatively new, I think. Not in RPGs certainly, but like in anything that was not a hardcore stat-based RPG.
Yeah.
Which I would not say this is, despite the fact that it has stats and loot. But I don't know.
Well, you're not able to tweak stats in the same way I think later games have made a big deal about.
Whoa. Yeah, you also can't reset stats, which is hardcore.
Yeah.
Alright, here we go.
I guess now that you know what's funny is I'm just thinking about how this character tree, this is the skill tree. It's very similar to what would show up in World of Warcraft, which is very similar to what would show up later in MOBAs like League of Legends. I think there was some because League of Legends builds off of Warcraft 3, like Warcraft 3 trees and ability upgrades like influence that to some extent. Oh no, what am I saying? No, character abilities in game are fixed. It's the skill trees. It's the mastery skill trees that are closer in League of Legends that are closer to the skill tree. The skill trees there.
That sounds familiar. And again, like I want to be clear, like I don't think this game, like, introduced the idea of skill trees. Certainly, they've been around for a long time, but I think it was it popularized it in a way that sort of saw a lot of developers pick it up as a core concept of meaningful game design and game progression and implement it in their own work.
I think a core Blizzard like history tenet is we didn't invent it, but we sure as heck made it work really well. For things that work well in Blizzard games, because not everything works well. Like we said, they've never fully cracked. I think Warcraft 3 is their only game. Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne are the only games that ever cracked particularly good narrative design. But World of Warcraft has its strengths, and I think it's special, and it does a lot of cool and it has a lot of cool writing. I hold Warcraft 3 in a special place in my heart, just for mostly just for starting off on the idea that like it ran with the orcs can have a perspective to orcs can be the good guys.
Yeah.
So that's another game. We'll do a Frozen Throne retrospective one day, and I'll definitely join you for that, Alex.
Yeah, sure. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but I don't think in general Blizzard's catalog of games are really oriented towards like telling meaningful, impactful stories. I think they haven't cared about.
Yeah, they care about play, and they care about characters you care about. Certainly that they want you to care about the characters you're playing with. So their art team puts out anything work.
Although I remember I forget if it was the postmortem or the oral history which US Gamer has, and is also linked in the article for the stream. But there's a moment where one of them basically says they're like, oh, it was a postmortem, where it was a huge, like they said it was a big risk to do the cinematics in the game the way they did, which is basically like Blizzard. They call it Blizzard Irvine, but now we would just know it as Blizzard. Blizzard, the people there at Blizzard did the cinematics, and they collaborated with Blizzard North on the story beats and everything. And if anyone hasn't played this game in a long time or has never played it, the cinematics between each act aren't about you at all. They're about somebody else who you're basically on the trail of. And so, like, it's kind of this. I would say it's the best Diablo story because it works. It's pulpy, but it works, and it's believable, and it's kind of fun and interesting. And they said that was kind of a risk internally. Like, I guess either PR or marketing, or maybe just the team in general wasn't sure that it was wise to tell a story that wasn't the player's story, and they went for it, and it worked. So that was kind of like a small...
Well, that's what helps when you make a game where people are mostly going to hit escape and click past it.
I was playing for the story, thank you very much. I was here for the lore. There's a gem that goes in a guy's forehead, and that's important.
Yeah. The Frozen Machine says they finished their first playthrough of Diablo II with their cousins during Christmas back in the early 2000s. They remember leveling up their paladin without knowing there were different skill trees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I was actually clicking through the skill tree thing yesterday and was, like, picking up some summon creature skills, and then I was like, oh, wow, wait, like, I can only get this skill right now, and I just happened to click on somewhere else on the screen, and I realized I could actually change it out. It's kind of like an old UI that doesn't, because obviously...
It is literally an old UI.
It's really an old UI. It's not it's not like you mouse over a different part of the UI and it lights up saying, "Hey, you can click here" or something. Like, it's extremely not that. So that's but that's what can happen, I think, with this game. And also, like, I mean, you know what I super appreciate is when you boot up this game, it just drops you in and does not care about tutorial. Like the tutorial is the game.
Yeah.
Like you just play it. We've talked with a lot of different developers on the stream and on Gamasutra.com about tutorializing and making things important for players and hand-holding when not to hand-hold and different philosophies. But when Diablo is just like, no, just go. Like, Diablo is a game, they can put it in the title, like, you signed up for this, you either played the last one or you signed up for, like, a game about fighting monsters, so learn how to fight monsters.
Yeah.
Live, die, repeat.
Well, yeah, and unlike some of the games you were mentioning earlier, World of Warcraft and its contemporary requests, which aren't like this at all, other than they are sort of action-y RPGs. There's no penalty for dying, other than you lose your stuff, right? So, like, if you run out into the first
In this
area,
game or those?
In this game, like,
Yeah.
there's like a little bit of gold I think you lose, but there's no experience penalty. You aren't like in Dark Souls. Your health isn't handicapped or anything. So if you run out in the first area and die, it's fine. It doesn't matter. You can die 10 times, and you still. That's just part of your story.
Yeah. And the
Weird
repair.
story now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like your character can't lose because as long as he doesn't die. Like, as long as he doesn't die without gold, as long as he doesn't die penniless.
But you just keep coming back. It's almost like this is purgatory.
Maybe it's hell. Yeah, maybe Tristan is hell or whatever.
Yeah.
Hell is other demons.
If this is hell, that's all right because there's a secret hell level, and if there's a secret hell level in hell, I think we did okay.
Yeah, well, hell just has layers, man. Dante's Inferno. Hell has a sheep level too.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the sheep level? Like, is there anything to talk about other than it's a fun goof
Wait,
that highlights
there's no sheep level. There's a cow level.
cow level? My bad.
That's why I was talking about the cow level. I don't think there's unless there's like a really secret sheep level that has yet.
No, I'm talking about the cow level. I'm talking about the cow level because a variation of it showed up.
Level?
A variation of it showed up in Warcraft 3, and I had to look up what it meant.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. So the story of that is that in Diablo, I forget why, but there was some rumor or joke going around on the internet late 90s that like there was a secret level in Diablo, the cow level, that you could get to by clicking on a certain cow 1,000 times. Or I don't remember the exact trick. It was a hoax. It was such a hoax that I think in StarCraft one of the cheat codes is there is no cow level because there was no cow level.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then so in Diablo 2 they put a cow level.
Yeah.
And I forget how to get there. It's like a leg in a box with some magic or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then now in Diablo 3, it's a evolved cow level or something.
Yeah. It's next level.
Yeah. Yeah, Blizzard does a good job taking jokes and actually does it like a joke from their game turns into a design thing. Like that's the Pandaren from Warcraft 3 and then World of Warcraft. Where they made an entire panda hero class, which is really sad because then like I feel like they made the Pandaren class in Warcraft 3, which is actually, if nothing else, more interesting than like how would you conceptually turn a panda into like another fantasy species in this game, with perhaps a little too much Orientalism in their initial design, but it is. I still appreciate it to some extent. But what was I going to say? Like that, a joke became, and remember in the World of Warcraft days, and there was a whole April Fool's joke about how they were going to do a Pandaren faction, and finally they went and did one with Mr. Pandaria, and I remember looking and going, that's really cool. Like they made a martial arts class for the game.
They made Kung Fu Panda the game before Kung Fu Panda the movie.
No, they made it after Kung Fu Panda the movie, which is the problem. Because then I feel like the problem was Kung Fu Panda came along and took the mysticism out of pandas doing martial arts. Stole their thunder. Kung Fu Panda, still a good movie. At least the first one. I only watched part of the second one, and I did not see the third. Although people keep saying like they're not bad DreamWorks sequels.
Yep. Yeah, we can tie this all together by saying there is a Pandaren, I think, in Heroes of the Storm, where there is also Diablo. Because Blizzard, if nothing else, is a exemplary studio when it comes to using and utilizing your IP and cross-marketing between your games. I know most developers will never have the opportunity to have multiple popular games out and be able to try and use them as cross-marketing.
Although, you know what's funny? There's actually, we can talk about something that's happening right now that some indie developers doing.
Okay.
Rick and Morty is about to enter season 3, and for some reason, Adult Swim reached out to a bunch of game developers and said, "Hey, can we make Rick and Morty DLC for your game?" As though they were fighting between dimensions. So, and there's the Dota 2 voice pack. There's a few ways that, standout characters from a game can make an appearance in another game. Bastion had a little. I remember like there was a Portal 2 implemented in Bastion. There was a
Portal 2 and Bastion. Like, could you just play Portal?
no, it's a Portal. It's just a Portal turret. Excuse me.
And that's
like-
cool too.
Yeah, there's lots of little cool ways that you go like I mean don't write that out. I think Frozen Machine points out the Lost Vikings. They're heroes of the storm.
Lost
Most
Vikings
obscure
are great. All they need now is Blackthorn.
Yeah, I know they gotta put Blackthorn in there just to make Alex happy. I should ask that the next time.
I just wanted because like his ultimate is he can shoot behind him without looking. That's his ult.
Just he's running. Yeah.
And then his Q is that he summons all the cars from Rock and Roll Racing.
Oh my God.
I mean that's I mean you know if talking about cross marketing. Oh, I forgot about this lore tome. Oh, there's a Countess character. I forgot about that. Yeah. This is a big deal. A quest tracker. Yeah.
I also appreciate the voice acting from Diablo 2, by the way. I was going to say that yesterday. Like, sometimes you play old games and the voice acting is like, my God, did they just get like Tim from accounting? But Diablo 2 grabbed Tina from accounting, and it turned out Tina is a professional voice actor.
No, it's really good. I'm sad that I won't have a chance to get to Kane on this stream.
Yeah.
He is the classic Diablo voice.
Oh, yeah.
I actually won't even get to the first boss because I'm very bad at Diablo 2, but this game is still very good. 17 years later, it's sort of remarkable.
Yeah.
I would happily play this for hours today. And that is, I think, maybe one of the nicest things you can say about a game developer's work many, many, many years later.
Yeah.
Not as nice as this changed my life and gave me a new perspective on the world, but I guess this is a game about killing demons, so it's hard. You can't have it all. Oh boy! Oh, not this guy again. Oh, I'm gonna die.
Well, it's for that time again.
Yeah.
Alex, I know you asked me not to do this, but I have to do it because the last episode of Card Talk was aired this week ever.
What, really?
Yeah, Card Talk is now off the air.
I thought they were just gonna keep it in like syndication for like 10
No,
years.
no. You've wasted another perfectly good hour listening to the Gamasutra Twitch channel. And watching it too. You binged to waste it both listening and watching to us. We like to play games that we think are relevant. We talk to developers about their work. We also now do little panels with developers where we try to get different developers sharing their experiences about and comparing experiences about things. We do editor roundtables where we get the whole Gamasutra crew on here and talk about the game business. And we appreciate all of you who choose to watch because we like having a conversation with you about all this. So if you could please hit the follow button that is somewhere on your monitor. We would love it if you could show up for future streams. If you just, we'll let you know when they're happening because they're just going to hit the follow button. And that's it. Yeah. We've been playing Diablo 2 because it turned 17 today. If you've been joining us towards the end of the show, we're going to get a video on demand of this up like we usually do on Gamasutra.com.
Great job. Like, follow, subscribe.
Like, follow, subscribe.
If we get 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to start a new music show where I just blast Rez all the time. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about how great music is in games, the ins and outs of audio composition, and just Rez in general.
Yeah, yeah. All right. I'll hold my I had a very mean joke back about game music. All right.
You can't be mean. There's no mean on the show. Yeah. This is a positive zone.
No mean.
We keep it positive.
Keep it positive. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.